Bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right. Welcome, Fade to Black. It is Monday, August 26, 2024. I am your host, Jimmy Church, kicking off another brand new week here on the show. Tonight, Mark A. Carpenter is with us. We're going to be talking about the Nephilim, and they exist. So we'll be talking about that tonight. Tomorrow night, MJ Benias is back with us. And tomorrow, the UFO subculture. Yeah, we're going to go deep tomorrow night. Wednesday night, Walter Cruttenden is back with us. And we're not, well, we will. We'll touch upon it. Binary star systems. And what's funny about we're going to be talking about science and spirituality on Wednesday with Walter, but Walter and his institutes really brought forward the idea of binary star systems, and something that science and astrophysicists and astronomers considered quite rare. Now it is considered quite common throughout not only our galaxy, but the rest of the universe. So we'll touch upon that and so much more Wednesday night with Walter. Then Thursday night, Brandon Masulo is with us. It's going to be all about ghosts and the paranormal and what is going on with the supernatural. Call the show Ghostly Encounters. He's got some ideas about what is going on, and we will do all of that on Thursday night. And now, yeah, I've been talking about this a lot, every show, every week, what I do throughout the year. And for the rest of the year, for the rest of 2024, I've got 3 events coming up, but they're all sold out. All right. So I've got Contact at Sea, the cruise to Alaska. That is next week, September 6th through the 13th. I say next week. Today's the 26th. So go and figure that out. No shows that week. After that, it is Egypt, October 3rd through the 14th with Forbidden Knowledge and Billy and Elizabeth Carson. And that is also sold out, but you can go and sign up for next year's tour or get on the waiting list. When I get back from that, then I head to Peru and Bolivia with Brian Forrester again this year. That is November 15th through the 27th. Again, sold out. But Brian does tours all year long, and you can go and look at his other stuff and get on the waiting list, too, for this tour if anything changes. Okay? All right. I had something I was going to say, but it just got away from me. Yeah, it's called Monday. Yeah, that's what it's called. It's called Monday. Tonight, Mark A. Carpenter is with us. And we are going to be talking about a lot of things tonight. End time prophecy, we're going to jump into that. Archaeological cover-ups, the sinister influence of Satanism and criminal cabals around the world, and the corruption embedded in science, education, media, government institutions, all subjects that I cover nearly every night on this show. So tonight is going to be a great conversation. He is an anthropologist, explorer, and author. He has worked on Mayan archaeological excavations on the Yucatan Peninsula, analyzing prehistoric Mexico. He also spent years living alongside various Native American tribes and Polynesians in North America and Hawaii, studying their ancient traditions. I would like to welcome his links are below. I'd like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Mark A. Carpenter. Mark, good evening, young man.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, this is it's going to be great. I like the A in the middle of that. You need to have the A there, Mark. There's a lot of other Mark Carpenters running around. You know what I'm saying, right?
Oh yeah.
And now you get the first time guest disclaimer. So let's get that out of the way so we can move forward, which is this. Mark, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. And where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, it ends. But we're going to end as friends. There you go. Simple enough. But you have to accept so we can move forward.
Absolutely, I accept that.
Yeah. And the subjects tonight, and you and I were talking about this earlier, sensitive, sometimes on the fringe of taboo, but they're all there's things that I think about and everybody else does around the world. This is something that is nothing new. And why do you think that is, that the heavy interest in not only these subjects, but end time prophecies and the Nephilim and the Bible and what that may have to say, tied into other cultures around the world? The interest is there, isn't it?
Absolutely. These ancient traditions and these modern phenomena and these mysteries and these questions are intimately intertwined with our soul as a species. You cannot separate our species from our culture.
Expand on that. I like that.
Well, humans, we are a unique species, despite what the scientists will try and tell you. And we'll get to that later in the corruption of modern institutional science and academia. But the human species is unique in that way, in that we make culture. We all the art and the music and the stories and the ideas and the writing and the language, all of this makes us unique as a species. And so, taboo subjects, fringe, the paranormal, there is nothing new under the sun.
No, you're absolutely right there.
Only our perspective. It's all a matter of interpretation or misinterpretation, as the case most frequently is, or contrived misinterpretation, which is the most garden variety type today. But so all this kaleidoscope of perspectives is what it really is.
Now, I often wonder, I'm going to stay right where you are right now. I often wonder the ability for you and I to ponder and discuss these subjects. Do animals think about death? Do animals think about the afterlife? Do animals look at the stars and go, I wonder if we're alone? Or is it just us that can think about atoms and then the outer reaches of the universe, right? We can think the macro to the micro to the macro and discuss these things. It's crazy. But do animals ponder the same things, or is it just us?
Well, I couldn't tell you what goes on in the mind of an animal, but I can tell you that once again, it's not what mainstream science would have you believe, which is that our brains are the ultimate culmination of molecular biological evolution. That's not true, because if it were, then whales would be flying on spaceships pondering the depths of their brains are magnificent and ancient and primordial. But they don't build things and have culture and ponder these deeper things. And this really gets us back to human origins.
Right.
Why is our species unique? Are we just an animal? If you want to go the social Darwinist route and believe that you're a monkey who, by cosmic happenstance, sheds your shed your fur and stood up in the savannah one day, right? And we're all just floating on a rock in a sea of chaos. And the meaning of it all is there is no meaning. So you can go that route if you like. I don't recommend it. My research indicates that is not the case.
Well, isn't it fascinating that those who say and feel that they are the brightest have the most closed down minds? That's fascinating to me. I mean, I just don't get that part of it now. But I think it's a recent phenomenon. I don't think it was the case when you go back to and pick a culture. It doesn't matter. Just pick a culture where the philosopher in the town was also the surgeon, was also the scientist, right? Was also right, and a religious scholar, and everything. Like Sir Isaac Newton is a great example of that. He was an alchemist, right?
Yeah.
But he wrote some of the best religious text out there. And without him, we wouldn't have satellite. Without his, you and I aren't talking right now, right?
I'm so glad you brought up Isaac Newton, because that really that's a good segue into how I became who I am and how I ended up on this weird odyssey. Well, I was raised to really, really focus on reason and the scientific method. My father was hardcore, like military technology guy, pretty brilliant and strict. And he taught us the scientific method. But I was always a rebel, and I always questioned his zealous atheism. But I am my father's son, and I am a scientist. Although really that's just a pursuer of truth.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is this. I was really blown away to discover that Newton, Tesla, Einstein, Galileo, Bruno, Pythagoras, Plato, and Copernicus, along with some others, von Braun, Johann Sebastian Bach, all of those men, and that, by the way, that is like the greatest all-star team of scientific minds in history. And they all adamantly believed in creationism. They believed that the mathematical harmony of the universe indicated it had a creator. Just like me and you look at an iPhone or a clock on the wall, we don't know exactly how. I mean, maybe you do. I don't know. We just met. But I look at a clock. I don't know how it works exactly, but I know somebody built that thing. Somebody somewhere in a little workshop put all those cogs together and made it work. And that was what all those men believed. But you don't learn that in school, do you? They don't teach that on the science channel. And so you have to ask yourself, why is that? Like, why? I'm not saying that we should be taught that that's the truth, but we certainly should know. Most people who debate these things, they don't even know that that's the case.
I was listening, I'm going to say 2 weeks ago, but it's something that I've heard over and over again. But when the discussion starts about Homo sapien sapien, where we have a general number that is thrown out there that I tend to agree with, we are about 200,000 years old, right? But we don't have the fossil record to support how we got to 200,000 years ago, right? It's there's something, but this is what the educated say. Oh, we have got every anthropologist in the world agrees that the evolution, and I'm like, wait, no. As a matter of fact, they all disagree on that part of it. You cannot say. And so when you're talking to the world and you're saying these things, that part is not, lie may be too strong of a word, but it's certainly not the truth and not the facts. And that's what people hear. And then they just go, well, okay, whatever. And when I talk about this with anthropologists, I will get a general answer. Well, you know what? It just is, and we accept it. Yeah. Well, that's not good enough. And it doesn't fit the enormous amount of time that Darwin applies to evolution.
That's right. That's exactly right. I mean, you just hit the nail on the head. Oh, by the way, Darwin is among that list. Darwin actually believed that the process of evolution was initiated by God. Now there's talk that, on his deathbed or something, he was like so he may have changed his tune at some point. But both Darwin and Einstein are used as banners of science to say, science disproves this primitive ancient tradition. But that's not true. And actually, Einstein, it made him very angry when people lumped him in with atheism. He did not appreciate that. No, but you're right. 200,000 years, no real explanation for where we came from. That's the truth. Is the oldest anatomically modern Homo sapiens are, you're right, about 200,000 years old, and they just appear.
When we're all raised with 3 words, and it's pounded into us: the missing link.
Yeah.
And for good reason, man. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And it's just so funny where we can go. And I was discussing this the other day with Charles Pellegrino, who's a brilliant mind. There's no question about it. Way too many PhDs following his name that, but I will argue that point. You cannot look at Homo erectus or anything else. I don't care. Denisovan, Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, or any other genus that's out there, and say that we look like that. No, chimpanzees do, right? Apes do. I get that. Orangutans do. I understand that. We are completely unique and just appeared out of nowhere. And there is a lot, and I can't explain that. I don't. I don't have. I've got theories, but I can tell you what it's not. It's not luck. It's not a roll of the dice. It's not chance. One day we weren't here, and the next day we were. And there's nothing in the fossil record that supports that evolution. And that's the end of the discussion.
Yeah. And just to put a cherry on it, something else that escapes the science classroom every single time, and the press and the media. The man who discovered the DNA helix, Francis Crick, he rejected that the DNA helix was formed over millions of years of random molecular mutation. He rejected that in favor of directed panspermia, which is creationism in this case, not in a cosmic sense, but in a genetic, biological, molecular biology sense.
But I would say it's cosmos related.
Well, it's related. It's related.
Yeah, it's related, and because there's one thing, and I'm not here to debate anybody out there that wants to be a scientist or claim that they're a scientist and then come back at me with something different. But I'll say this: it is a fact that that the basic sugars of amino acids and life and RNA, which leads to DNA, is cruising around the universe right now on rocks, period. So to think that that element of it isn't universal, well, it is, and it survives the vacuum of space. So how can we remove that idea? Just an idea. Let's put it on the table. How can we remove that from how we got here on Earth? I think that's ignorant, don't you?
Absolutely. We're just banging our heads up against the box that they made for us as children. You know, the reality is, we like to think that the scientific institutions are these smart people out there and they have our interests at heart and they're just kind of figuring things out for the greater good. And we think that because that's what it should be. And that's why we are so ready to accept that that's what it is. But it's not what it is. It's an indoctrination system. What
happened? I'm gonna interrupt you, Mark.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind. What happened? There's something on you're doing your journey, right? And then you took a right-hand turn away from your dad. What happened? What was that catalyst? Did you read something, see something?
Well, there was an incident with him in childhood so I lost respect for him. But what really happened was when I went to study anthropology and archaeology in Chapel Hill, and I really delved into the Maya. At the time, I was a different person. In the bio, we call me an explorer. I would say I used to be an explorer. Now I'm more of an activist because of my experiences. Anybody can become an activist if they become privy to something that they feel everybody else needs to know. But at UNC, studying the Maya, studying their alleged disappearance and their pyramids and their culture, specifically Palenque and the remains of Pakal. In studying that, I learned that there is more than just a nucleus of reality to the ancient traditions, specifically the biblical Nephilim and all of its corresponding equivalents in other ancient traditions.
Okay, this is exactly where I wanted to go. All right, so let's start here. Nephilim is a word, and I say this a lot on the show, that is used a bit too freely in a conversation, right? People not understanding what the Nephilim are, but it's not their fault. Because if you look at the Bible or different interpretations of the word and the etymology behind the word, there's even confusion and disagreement there too as well. So for you, who are the Nephilim?
Okay, so let's touch the etymology really quickly. So you'll hear most frequently fallen ones. That's the most common etymological breakdown that I hear. And that's close. The Hebrew root for fall is the essence of this word, but they're not putting it into the ancient context. To fall upon one in biblical terminology means to prey on someone, to stalk someone, to hunt and kill someone. And this is the defining characteristic of the Nephilim, that they are predators. The word actually means predators. Those who fall upon their enemies, those who fall, predators.
Not the fallen ones that were cast out of heaven.
Absolutely not. There's a
Gotcha.
ton of overlap and confusion there, especially when you get into the ancient traditions and some other people who purport to be experts in these very complicated fields. They love to conflate the Nephilim with their otherworldly progenitors. Those would be the Watchers.
The Watchers and anything that would predate man or God on this planet.
Well, I wouldn't quite take that leap, but according to all of the ancient, the Watchers are not unique to the Bible, not remotely.
Right.
So they are present in virtually every ancient tradition as elder life forms who observe mankind, have control over the forces of nature, and periodically intervene in the affairs of mankind. And that actually is verbatim the definition of the word deity. Now, when we come to this, we can really start to see the eclipse effect and the overlap of the science fiction media concept of an alien. So then you start asking questions like, well, what, and we have sort of a paradigmatic conflict there. But to the ancient people, there was no conflict. There are these elder life forms. They observe us. They are very closely related to stars. You would almost think that they are stars, but it's like a symbiotic relationship between them and a star, like a hermit crab and its shell. And they also know in all these traditions that at some point, these Watchers, these deities, whatever the culture calls them, to the Japanese Shinto, they are the kami. But they have interbred with mankind, producing hybridized offspring. And they are always, they always have abnormal genetics, whether they are very large or very small. They are most frequently anthropomorphic, so animal and human features, and they are incredibly powerful, both physically and cognitively. And then they go on to live these lives of royalty and epic deeds. And this is precisely what the Bible tells us: the heroes of old, the warriors of renown. So that's Genesis.
Right. And so, and the Nephilim were here before man, and then man appeared, and even the Nephilim, didn't they interact and maybe interbreed with man too as well?
Yes. So let's take a real quick back step to what you were saying earlier. You started rattling off hominid species of human.
Right.
You mentioned Denisova and so Homo erectus, I believe, is actually just a monkey. Okay, so quick side note, and we're coming right back to the Nephilim here. A lot of what modern science tells us are monkey men. The really ancient ones, like Homo erectus and Australopithecus, are actually just very ancient apes. And what they did was they fudged the data to say, oh, yes, indeed, obviously, this ape walked upright. You can tell by its bone. And then they have a whole magic bullet theory for why this ape walked upright. Okay, but now this is where it gets complicated. The hominid species like Neanderthal and Denisovan and Heidelbergensis and Homo floresiensis, these are human. These are our human ancestors for sure. They are not apes. Now, in science, in media, they always portray them as ape-like, but they were not. They were much more of what you would imagine as like a fairy tale troll or ogre. So there's a major deception going on there regarding the Nephilim. And then the Nephilim are actually the skeleton keys that have been edited out of science and history that unlock 1,000 different paranormal mysteries. Basically, everyone that your show deals with relates directly to this hybridization and the corresponding kaleidoscope of genetic hybridization and monsters and whatnot that came afterwards.
Now, as an anthropologist, let me ask you this.
Okay.
The sloping, and I don't want to sound naive or uneducated. I've researched this as far as I can take it. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you some direct questions that these are things that I'm offended by academia. Okay. So you go by when you look at a diorama in a museum of Neanderthal or Cro-Magnon, and you look at the fossil record that we have, bigger bones, bigger brains, right? Scalp muscles. I get all of that, but the slope of the skull, the shape of the chin, and the shape of the skull looks nothing like us. Now, that part I have big issues with, to say that, not from you, just in general with academia.
That's fine.
But the other part of that is for us to have looked like that at one point, we are talking about tens of millions of years of evolution. And I don't know if I walked down the street and walked past a Neanderthal that I would ever mistake them for Homo sapien sapien. I don't think that that would be the case.
No, yeah. So when the hybridization occurred, you got some really, really spooky looking humans. So they're
I do.
human.
You haven't seen my cousin Bobby. He's Neanderthal for sure. Or my brother Kevin, for that matter. So throw him.
I think the mental stumbling block, right, comes with you can have a really diverse range within a species genus. Think about the difference between like a dolphin and a sperm-back whale, or the difference between a capuchin monkey and an orangutan or a mountain gorilla. You know what I mean? So within the range of what is a human can be some really freaky things, especially when you start factoring in hybridization of a non-human species. And what you also get is an invasive species. And that's really, really key. So here in Maryland, we have a problem with snakehead fish.
Yes, you do.
Asian immigrants love snakehead fish. They think they have like really great medicinal qualities and bring good luck and things like that. So they dump them into the tributaries here in Maryland. And they now dominate the tributaries, because when an invasive species finds a nice new home that it's adapted to, but the environment is not adapted to it, meaning it has no natural predators. So what happens is they grow really, really large, they multiply like crazy, and they dominate and devour everything in the ecosystem, even to the point where they can totally unbalance the entire ecosystem.
And they breathe oxygen and can walk on land.
Yeah, the snakeheads are a really nasty species.
Really
But
nasty.
my
Really nasty.
yeah, but my point is, you can see this pattern. You can see this pattern in the fossil record, and it corresponds to the ancient tradition, like Nephilim. So let's just take the basic components of the Nephilim story. You've got hybridization between non-human and human, producing a gigantic offspring. And then if you go outside of Genesis and you touch Enoch, now you've got cannibalism. So, and it specifically says that the regular humans, the mortals, the Homo sapiens, us, tried to sustain them, but when we could no longer sustain them, they turned on us, and they turned cannibalistic on us. This is reflected in the archaeological record. This is reflected in the fossil record. This is why hominids and Homo sapiens simply appeared out of thin air. And furthermore, this validates the ancient traditions to some extent, to a limited extent.
So, staying on the Nephilim, were
Okay.
they a civilization at one point?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, what kind of timetable are we looking at here?
Well, well, I can very confidently and comfortably link the deluge recorded by the Sumerians, and then again revised in the biblical narrative, which are really one and the same, by the way. So Abraham's father was a Sumerian, it says, idol maker. So they were actually like Sumerian high society, Abraham and his father. We have this idea of him as just like a nomadic sort of desert guy, but they were actually civilized and from Sumeria. But to answer your question, the deluge I can link to around 13,000 years ago. So, 10,000 BC. So that would mean pre-10,000 BC, we had the Nephilim civilization, which are indeed some of the remnants that are left over all over the world, like the pyramids of Giza. That's why the white limestone the white limestone covering is all gone, except for right there at the top, there's still a patch of it. That is the high water mark. So I know those structures were there 13,000 years ago. And Robert Schoch, who your listeners are probably familiar with, he too has pointed out the weather erosion on the Sphinx enclosure. So that's physical evidence. And this deluge event, just for anybody who's not familiar, this is scientific fact. So we've got the Younger Dryas mass extinction event that we know happened. We know happened because there was mass extinction all over the planet, and the drilling cores reveal that the temperature did absolutely skyrocket at that time. So this mass extinction flooding event did indeed occur. And before that is when Nephilim were running amok all over the planet.
All continents? Anywhere where there wasn't ice, I should say.
Well, Nephilim, because of their heritage and everything that came along with it, there was nowhere that was uninhabitable to them. They went where they pleased, and here's where it gets really complex and bizarre, and where people will start to short circuit. But they actually had extraterrestrial capabilities, and what all of the subculture and all of the conspiracy community generally believes to be aliens from another planet are in fact Nephilim, who are from right here and have been here the whole time.
The other part of the definition and the etymology of Nephilim is giants. And that is a pretty accepted form. It's almost like the fallen ones / giants, right? And I'm not
Absolutely.
too far. Yeah, I'm not too far off there. So
No.
when this hybridization started to occur, were humans smaller and then got taller because of some interbreeding that was going on? I don't want to sound extreme here, but
No.
but it would make sense if the giants part of it comes into play.
Okay. Yeah, you're asking all the right questions, and it's really good because we're really sort of working through this. Okay, so we need to talk about this word giants. So this is a Greek word, gigantes. And this Greek word gigantes refers to, we use the word giant to mean just an adjective to mean something huge. But then it has a noun meaning, right? Like a gigantic person, like Shaquille O'Neal is a giant. Okay. But when you really understand the Greek meaning of gigantes, the Greeks regarded them as an ancient race, a lost ancient race of humans. But okay, so to answer your question though, yes, over the millennia, there has been so much, the Nephilim blood, the exotic Nephilim DNA has become diluted over the millennia. And so now there are Nephilim descendants among us. We all have a little Nephilim in us, is the point. And yes, Homo sapiens were smaller, although not to a great degree. We're not like a whole lot larger now because of the hybridization. And I'm not exactly certain that Nephilim were present before Homo sapiens at all. It's very complicated because it may not be Homo sapiens, but Homo sapiens are yet another iteration of a very similar species of human. And I think that's actually what the biblical text indicates, is that Adam was like human species 4 or 5.0, not the first ever human. He was just the first in a new genetic refinement process.
Right. And so if we look at it like that and we push the clock back, were the Nephilim on Atlantis, or was that Homo sapien?
Well, Atlas is absolute Nephilim.
So Atlantis, not Atlas.
No, Atlas was the founder of Atlantis.
Okay. No, yes, I get that. Okay, I get that.
Atlas is the hybridized being who is the first king of and founds the nation of Atlantis. And his father is Poseidon. So it's your typical Watcher hybridization story. Poseidon takes himself a wife, and he establishes a hybrid offspring bloodline with her. Atlas is his firstborn son, so he is like a super freaky giant Nephilim, and he builds Atlantis.
Now, they were all children of Zeus, right? So
who is they?
Poseidon. Well, no. all of the Greek gods.
The Olympians were all children of Saturn, Cronus, Saturn.
Well, I thought Zeus was Cronus's son.
He is. All of the Olympians: Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Hades. Anyway, there's all of the Olympian deities are the children of the Titan Cronus. and they were imprisoned in his belly
Right.
until Zeus freed them and usurped his father as king of the gods. But he is actually their sibling, not their father. Zeus
Oh,
is
I thought it was. I thought it was. Yeah. Okay. See, Greek mythology fascinates me, but you can see the similarities with their gods, with other gods, with different civilizations, retelling of the same story, which I find itself just fascinating and compelling. But I thought Kronos, Zeus, and then the kids.
Nope.
The kids were imprisoned back into Kronos, and Zeus freed them.
Zeus
But the kids,
yes.
the Olympians were all Zeus's kids, I thought.
No, he was their siblings. He was able to free them because his mother hid him at birth. So he was not imprisoned as his siblings were.
That's right. Okay, so but incestuous. That's where I was going, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, they were definitely incestuous. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I bring all of that up because when we look at, you bring up Abraham, and when we look at that area of the world, which today is the Turkish-Syrian border, right? But when we look at that part of the world, that's where Abraham was born. And we look at that as desert and backwards today. That was all cityscape back then. And it was completely upright and developed, wasn't it? It wasn't, we have a different picture of what the actual reality was that long ago.
Well, these ancient cities, these ancient Mesopotamian cities, like Ur and Uruk, or the biblical Erech, these Eridu. Eridu is basically like the oldest city that we're familiar with, not counting the discoveries in Göbekli Tepe, but that's more of just a temple rather than an urban living complex. But regardless, these places are very sophisticated. They're not what they should be according to the mainstream narrative, which, says that these are where civilization began, where people first started figuring things out, and basically the hunter-gatherer people became farmers here. That's not what we see at all. We see a prefabricated urban planning civilization already 100% intact, including with a state religion already built in. A state religion focused on the worship of a watcher or a malicious deity.
Now, in a general sense, Nephilim bad, watchers good, right? No?
Well, okay. So
did the Nephilim ever have our good fortunes at heart?
There do seem to have been Nephilim that rejected the unholy ways of their bloodlines. Noah was a Nephilim. So Noah was not just, so, you'll hear people mock the ark story, but they don't understand that Noah was a human, non-human hybrid. He was an albino, and he was a giant, and he had knowledge and capabilities that you and I couldn't possibly even dream of. And he did not round up all the animals from all over the world. It was just from that region. But so anyway, there were good Nephilim, but they were extremely rare instances. The Nephilim are defined by wickedness. And when it comes to watchers, that term really now means the rebellious watchers. So there are still watchers who are good, but watchers now is a catch-all term for these are the real fallen ones. These are the fallen angels who apparently it was their task to observe us, and instead they violated their oaths and interbred with mankind, spawning this invasive species which plunged the world into violence and demonic worship.
So okay. Again, just a direct question because I don't know the answer.
Oh, it's okay.
Nephilim connected to a god, or did they have a god?
Okay, so this is a great segue because this leads us up into modern times.
Okay.
The Nephilim culture exists even to this day. And yes, well, so Nephilim cults, and there were many thousands of them all over the world, some of which exist to this day. They are ancestral cults. So they worship all their ancestors, leading all the way back to the rebellious watcher that spawned them. And that is actually the motive of the watchers, was to infuse their worship with ancestral tradition of Homo sapiens, thereby using our free will to wage war against their master God, because we have free will. So if we choose to worship false gods who are at war with God, God can't just snap his fingers and make us not do that, because we have the right to do is. So it's like we have been weaponized in a cosmic conflict. Homo sapiens culture has been weaponized, and our genetics. And this is the defilement referred to in the Bible, and why the deluge had to take place, so that there could be a fresh start. And Christ, when asked about the end times, said that in the end times, it will be as it were in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. So what we're seeing is now a resurgence of Nephilim activity and a resurgence of Nephilim culture amongst Homo sapiens. And this is very much the by design of the ruling elite of Homo sapiens, who are themselves highly diluted Nephilim descendants. You see, the entire divine right to rule concept comes from the Nephilim. Just as Atlas was the first king of Atlantis, all these European bloodlines trace themselves eventually back to a watcher. And so all of the modern day mystery secret societies, Masons, Skull and Bones, the Porcelain Club, Bohemian Grove, we could go on and list them all. They say in their own writings that they are continuations of the ancient mystery schools of Persia and Greece and Babylon. Those are ancient Nephilim cults. And they are perpetuating them. And they are not only perpetuating them, they are programming and brainwashing all of humanity into this culture. And this is part of their plan to reduce population and establish a one world satanic AI slave state utopia or dystopia. The New World Order.
Yeah, so the Nephilim had this plan all along.
Well, the all-time champion of the Nephilim was Nimrod, and he's known by another name. I'll just keep that in my back pocket for right now. But he ruled the world by himself with an iron fist. He was the first to establish this one world satanic nation. But divine intervention foiled his feeble plan. But he has unfinished business. And his ancestors, as he knew they would, have the capability now with scientific technology, genetic technology, to bring him back from the grave. And that's precisely what they are doing.
And I'm looking at the clock. We're going to take a break in 3 minutes. Where is his grave? Where is it located?
So Nimrod's grave was located in Iraq, in Uruk, and it was discovered in 2003. Well, in early 2000s, it was discovered. And in 2003, upon the incursion, it was raided by the government, by the U.S. government.
Yeah, I've seen some photos and some, I'll just say purported video. I can't, I wasn't there, but certainly U.S. forces surrounded some pretty significant archaeological sites in Iraq without any explanation. Meanwhile, the museums are getting looted, right? But they've got tanks surrounding these different sites, and I found that very, very interesting. Oh, let me ask you this, Mark. Oh, real quick. I don't want this to get away from me. What about the fossil record for the Nephilim? Bone structure the same as ours, just bigger, and human, everything else, 10 fingers, 10 toes. Chromosomes and DNA's got to be similar if there was interbreeding going on.
Yes. So it's complicated because every time a watcher interbreeds with a mortal, Homo sapien, produces Nephilim. Now there's a variety of options. Watcher could then interbreed again with Nephilim. Nephilim could breed with Nephilim. Nephilim could breed with Homo sapien. So there is a really, really wild, endless, I keep using this word, kaleidoscopic. There were all kinds of strange, anomalous Nephilim, but most commonly, the aberrations associated with them genetically were large stature, twice the size of a Homo sapien, 6 fingers and toes, and night shine.
Night shine?
Like nocturnal vision. You ever see an animal with nocturnal vision at night and their eyes shine back at you? More Homo sapiens don't have night shine, but they did.
Didn't Urfa Man have 6 fingers?
I'm sorry, which man?
Urfa Man, the statue that was found in Mesopotamia, around Göbekli Tepe, near Ur.
Yes,
Urfa.
yes. So when we come back from the break, we can get into it. But polydactyly, meaning extra fingers and toes, that was a major breadcrumb trail that led me on this odyssey to know that the Nephilim exist, and by correlation, so too is there evidence that end time prophecy is to an extent valid.
Now, and I'm not making a joke. I'm not being cavalier. I'm not being funny. Ha ha. Okay, but you can laugh if you want. Okay. Urfa Man to beautiful, right? The gown, the V-neck, obviously fashion forward, purported to be from around 8 to 9,000 BC. That's really ancient by anybody's standards. Wrong finger count. We have 5. He had 6, but he also had 2 PPs.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Right? Now,
Yeah.
if you are going to, and again, I'm not making a joke here, being very serious. If you're going to carve a statue that big and make it that perfect, and dude, he's majestic, man.
Yep.
And those eyes, man, he's got that stare. You don't make mistakes. And you're not going to make mistakes with things like fingers and PPs.
Nope. And I believe he's also holding his abdomen. If you look,
he's holding more than his abdomen, but we'll talk about that when we come back after this break. Our guest tonight, Mark Carpenter. Stay right there. Tonight, we're talking about the Nephilim. The Nephilim exists. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. Hi, this is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I want to invite you to come to Alaska with me on the Contact at Sea cruise. It is this September 6th through the 13th, 2024. We are on the largest ship in the Pacific Ocean. That's right, the Ovation of the Seas. It's an amazing cruise, and a ship this big is so much fun. We've got lots of activities and lots of great speakers. We are leaving from Seattle to Sitka, Alaska, Skagway, Juneau. We're going to end the cruise in Victoria, BC, and arrive in Seattle on September 13th. We've got a lot of amazing speakers, including we've got Seth Showstack, Scott Walter, Stephen Bassett, Daniel Sheehan, Daryl Sims, Mas Adi, Vivian Chavez, Grant Cameron, Geraldine Orozco, Misha Johnston, and Melanie Aguirre, and a whole lot more. All you have to do is go to divinetravels.com. You can also go to contactatsea.com. Both are going to take you to a full event schedule. You can check in, look at the boat, get things ready to go, and maybe get a cabin with a balcony. That's what I'm talking about. Come see the whales. Come check it all out. Let's go to Alaska this September 6th through the 13th, 2024 with me, Jimmy Church. Now, when you head to divinetravels.com or contactatsea.com and get signed up, you know what? Use my name, Jimmy Church. I'll see you there September 6th through the 13th, 2024. Let's go to Alaska. This is Jimmy Church. Please visit and explore Egypt this October 3rd through the 14th, 2024 with Billy, Elizabeth, myself, and very special guest and the #1 podcaster in the world, Sean Kelly. It's simple to do. Just go to forbiddenknowledge.com and click on upcoming tours, or click on the link below. We'll see you there. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's fade to black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Backley Tappy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut. River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right. Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Mark Carpenter is with us, anthropologist, historian, and has been around the world. And we're talking about the Nephilim tonight. And Mark, when I was a kid, absorb this. When I was a kid, and I'm going to say 9 years old, 10 years old, I had a little AM radio, sat on my bed, and I would listen to talk radio late at night. Kind of funny what I do now, right? Listen to this crazy AM talk radio in the 70s. And one night I heard, I'm just lying there in the dark, I don't know, it's probably 2 a.m. and on a school night. And this is what was said, and it was probably a host and a guest, but anyway, this is what was said, and I never forgot it. The Illuminati were a tribe with ancient man that dominated the other tribes of Stone Age man and continued to dominate the world, but it goes all the way back to caveman days, right? And so the Illuminati, right? So I woke up the next day, and I went to my parents, I went to my teacher at school, and I didn't even know what the word was. I was saying it wrong. I was saying Illuminati, right? Not Illuminati. And but it just stuck with me. I'm serious. And I just thought, could that be true? Now, this discussion that we're having tonight is eerily similar to what I heard on the radio 50 years ago as a kid. So was that host, that talk show from the 70s, discussing what we're talking about tonight?
Yes, they were. And let me ask you, I bet you listened to a lot of crazy stuff on those radio shows at night in your bed, didn't you?
I did. Loved them all.
But that one stuck with you, didn't it?
It did.
And why?
100%.
And I'll tell you why. Because the truth has a vibration to it. You don't know, but it just rings true. And that's why you never put it away. That's why you always just kept it in a little specimen jar there.
Yeah.
Because it had this weird ring of vibration to it. and it is true.
Yeah, because if we strip everything away and you really just think about the fundamental, this is a non-trivial subject. This is like a real subject. And you just get back down to the fundamentals, and just maybe there was a tribe that had a jump on everything else, right? Just enough to dominate everything. And that just continued throughout history. And what is wrong with that theory? I don't think anything. And it certainly answers a lot of questions today, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's complicated. These things all are, these topics and these issues, people want and are accustomed to simple, simple, palatable answers and solutions. But these are complex. And if you really want to know the truth, you've got to be willing to wade through your society matrix programming and question some things. But yes, the Nephilim did dominate in prehistory, and this absolutely relates to the six fingers, which you just touched on, and the archaeological record. And I'm not just talking about the old world. In the new world too, six fingers, ritual murder, cults, star dragon oriented cults involving ritual murder, human sacrifice, bloodletting, cannibalism, and these bizarre, these genetically abnormal ruling elite. That's
remember, we do this is a family show, so we need to stay in bounds to a certain point. Okay, so I you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
But when video, I'm not going to say who or what, but we all know. But when the Bilderberger video surfaced, and we all watched that, that was something, that was like eyes wide shut Stanley Kubrick fiction, right? That we whatever, Rosemary's Baby, pick something. But then suddenly we see it happening, like, for real. I think the world was pretty shocked by that, and thought originally that was just fringe conspiracy tinfoil hat stuff. But now we've got video of a pretty crazy ceremony going on up there in Northern California.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Bilderberg, I think you mean Bohemian Grove, but they are the same people.
What did I say? I said Bilderbergs. Yeah, Bohemian Grove.
The exact same attendees.
Same people attending both meetings.
That's right. Bilderberger, but I'm sure there's satanic rituals going on at both, so don't worry.
Yeah.
It's
kind of funny. You know what's weird about that? That brain fart? It was actually accurate.
Yeah, right. I know. When sometimes you're stumbling around this dark, dirty labyrinth, and you just have to stop and laugh. Like, yeah, it's well, I mean, it's not funny, but like soldiers in combat, you just got to find a way to make peace with it and joke about it and stay positive. But but I do think there are some pretty serious implications. But yes, the absurdity of a lot of our society is it's there. I mean, you know, these people are in control of our every aspect of our lives, pretty much.
Yeah, and so we've all pictured some crazy dark room, you know, and somewhere, you know, on the planet with a bunch of crazy individuals sitting around a big table going,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah.
that's not a joke, is it?
No, no, it's not. No, the few who rule over the many. It really defines all the suffering and crime and all the problems we have as a society. They seem sort of like organic problems, and certainly that's how the media portrays it, like crisis narrative after crisis narrative after crisis narrative. But the only real crisis is that an organized crime network of oligarch Satanists has been dominating society for 2,000 years, longer.
Okay, not to debate. I don't want to do that.
That's
But
okay.
it said no. Hear me out though. Hear me out. It seems that the numbers, let's just say 8 billion people on this planet. So like 7.5 billion of them believe in good things in a general sense, and want to do good. And then you have so much bad happening at the same time when most of the world is supposed to not believe in those things. Is it because that is just the duality of the universe? If everything was all good all the time, how would we know what evil or bad even is? Right? You have to have the duality there, right?
Right.
To understand what is bad or what is good. If everything was bad and there was no good, then we lose that duality then too as well. We would know what good is if it's not around us.
Yeah, well, certainly evil and crime and suffering are garden variety no matter what's going on. Well, and in terms of good and evil, that's an age old question about, you know, why, if our existence is benevolent, then why is it so filled with so much crime and pain and suffering and hate? But see, it may sound cliche, but it's true what they say, that happiness is a choice. And people choose to be bitter and people choose to be evil. But the deeper question is, how is their culture influencing them? And where does that culture come from?
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent segue. Because this is my belief. I don't think that I'm too wrong here. It's not 100% accurate, but 2 babies born at the same time are equal. They're equal, right? They don't know good or evil or anything. Now it's the culture and their parents and everything else that starts to define their character, right? Now, today we have different forms of media bombarding us from all directions. When you and I were kids, you know what? If you were 10 years old, you weren't getting in to see a rated R movie. It wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
right? Parent or guardian. But if you were hanging out with your friends, you weren't getting through the door. Today, it's right here. The cesspool is instantaneous. Is that what is going on? Is it well, to say the medium entertainment starting to define who we are at a very young age?
Absolutely. And so this is going to be a tough pill for some to swallow, but I would submit to you that the whole reason why feminism was invented by the system was to double the number of taxable incomes and to divide husband, wife, mother, and child. Because now the mother works and the father works. And so the school system and the media are now the primary influences on that child's mind. It used to be you come home from school, your mom is waiting there for you. She makes you do your homework before you go play. And but now media has a direct intravenous channel into the mind of your children. And they're doomed in the school system as well. So they're being indoctrinated by the school system. They're being indoctrinated by the media, which is intravenously fed. It completely bypasses the parents. And people think that this media is entertainment, but it's not. It's something much, much more than that. Music has hypnotic programming capabilities, especially on a young child's mind. Children's mind begin in a theta state that is highly suggestible. That's how they learn. That, we say children are like sponges. You say something and then your child mimics it like a parrot. That's because they're in theta state and they're very suggestible. And when children are blasted with digital media and music with crypto satanic brainwashing, MK Ultra lyrics and frequencies and whatnot, well, that's now you've got billions of people around the world under a very dark, very malignant spell.
I was talking about this last week, and I don't know how we got here and how we got here so quickly. And I will always be honest, or no, I will try to be honest. I will try to be honest. Nobody's perfect, but the changes that we have gone through with media from 1995 to now, which is 30 short years, just 30 years. And my daughter's 30 years old, Nicole. She's born in 1995, and so she was born in the internet age. Last week. And I hadn't done this in a long time, Mark. I just haven't. But I'm going to use a bad word. I'm not bullshitting in any way.
Hey, remember it's a family show.
It's a family show. Yes, it is. And so for some reason, okay, so there's a new book that has come out, and I'm looking on social media for comments about this book, and I just want people's opinions, and I'm trying to see both sides of the thing. And I'm scrolling through Twitter, which is now called X, but nobody cares. And I'm scrolling through, and the insane stuff that was in that feed, anything that you can think of, from it was kind of strange too, from violence and fights and things and of course the politics and the religious stuff, and all that's there too as well. But scrolling through it, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm 60. Okay. I can choose what I want to see or not want to see. Okay.
Yeah.
But when you have a mind, a young mind that is malleable,
Yeah.
that is good, they stop and watch that stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't, I block. If it's just a little bit, because I surround myself with positive vibes. I just do.
Yeah.
You know? Now look, I've got a Jeff Beck t-shirt on. I've got a room full of guitars. I got a garage with a Harley and a Jeep. I'm not a wuss. I'm not suggesting that at all. All right? I'm not. But I don't have negativity in my life. And I'm looking at this feed.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this is what the world wants?
Yeah.
Is this really what's going on out there? And I was shocked by that. Just shocked. And that's just my, it's going on all social media platforms all around the world, and you don't have any age restrictions.
Yeah.
You can just scroll through it and watch it. And that absolutely it's not a good thing. It's reprogramming DNA.
Yeah. And it's doubly painful for me, because I have devoted my life to narratology, to storytelling. Plato said, those who tell the stories rule society. And what I see, well, because once you understand Nephilim and ancient occult symbolism, you see it everywhere in the media, not because you're having a delusion, but because it is programmed, it is encrypted all over the place, everywhere. 666, the Google Chrome, Adrenochrome, it's Disney, it's absolutely everywhere. And I know I sound like some sort of Baptist minister or something, like, the devil is everywhere and he's going to get you. And I don't know how I became that person. But I guess it's because I ended up researching the reality that crypto Satanism embedded in our culture is a real thing, and it is really malignant, and it is in the music and the movies, but even deeper than that, it's there on a paradigmatic level. You look at the way people are primed and ready to worship aliens. Like, if tomorrow the headlines were, we have an alien friend, he has landed, he's hanging out at the White House, we're going to be doing a live press conference with him, humanity is going to worship Nephilim just as they did in ancient times, but their identity is going to be whitewashed with the alien media propaganda. So
you're not suggesting ET is Nephilim.
I
am. Okay. Yeah, keep going. I want to hear. Hey, we're just talking, my man. Let's talk.
No. It's I don't expect people to accept or understand. But okay, so any researcher worth their salt is going to tell you that the phenomena is real, meaning the UFO phenomena. The government is out there announcing that they've got recovered crashed and bodies, which to any discerning researcher, we knew that 30 years ago.
Have you ever seen anything in the sky you can't explain?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
One time I did. And it was at one of these ancient sites, and that's not a coincidence.
No, not at all.
There's a pattern. There's a pattern that exists between the aerial anomaly phenomena and the subterranean exotic geology and the mysterious megalithic structures at the surface. The Nephilim, who built all these wild pyramids and everything, they were creating conduits between the underworld, the surface world, and the heavenly world. In the biblical text, once it's referred to as a tower, another time it's referred to as Jacob's ladder. But the point, and then of course, you've got all the other traditions with the axis mundi and so on and so forth. And modern science, right, says that there's a geomagnetic field, and if you could see it from the Earth, the Earth would look like a sea urchin. So there are these, meaning there are places where this field is spikes, and this is related to the geology and the ceremonial structures on the surface and the astronomical alignments.
How did the ancients know about that?
Well, because they were taught by.
Well, but the question stays: how did the ancients know that? I have been around the world to these sites, okay, and they are at specific locations, not by accident. But I asked myself, how we barely grasp the ideas for this today. How did the ancients know about these special locations?
Well, the Nephilim were taught all the secrets of civilization and the earth and occultism. They were taught all the secret hidden knowledge by their watcher progenitors. And actually, everything we know, all our technology, all our science, all our knowledge is actually just a rediscovery of what Nephilim kept from us all those millennia.
Who taught the Nephilim? Who taught the Nephilim? And by the way, I say that every night on this show.
Sure.
Everything is taught. Ain't anything new. There's nothing. No, nobody. Nobody just goes, No, it doesn't work that way. Everything is taught. So who taught the Nephilim?
So let's go back. You mentioned before Atlantis, and we talked about Atlas and his progenitor Poseidon. So Poseidon spawns this hybrid Nephilim, Atlas, and then schools him in all the secrets. Remember, Poseidon is a non-human elder watcher being who's been around for who knows how long. He has an indefinite lifespan. He's an immortal. So Poseidon bequeaths all the knowledge and secrets to his Nephilim offspring, Atlas, who then passes that knowledge on to his royal offspring, and it becomes a legacy of secret occult knowledge.
Kronos, if that's the case, and I love where this is going, by the way. So is Kronos the dude or dudette of all forever?
No, Kronos is actually Satan. Kronos, yes. Kronos in the Greco-Roman Saturn and Satan are etymologically linked, as is the Nordic Surtur. And all three of them are these underworld imprisoned primordial deities of time and death and agriculture. In the biblical text, he's named as the leader of the 200 watchers, and he is named as Semyaza. But then he is referred to by other titles, not his proper name, like Satan, which just means adversary. And then he's also referred to as Moloch, which means king, as in king of the watchers. And
just here on Earth? What I'm getting at is,
Right.
the universe is a frigging big place, right? It's big.
Yeah.
It's really big.
Yeah.
And there's I'm not saying God,
Right.
maybe depends on things, but it seems that before the Big Bang, or 13.8 billion years ago, something else was also going on. And that wasn't the beginning of time, as science will state today. I don't know that as fact, but it just seems strange to me that there was nothing before 13.8 billion years ago. So who was running things in the universe then? If it wasn't Kronos, I mean, is there a name for this
So
intellectual?
You're asking me, according to the Greco-Roman tradition, who was in charge before Kronos?
I just want you. I just want your opinion. You can go Greco-Roman or anything, but
Sure. And well, okay. So all of the ancient traditions agree that, well, pretty much it's pretty much a universal aspect of ancient tradition that there was war amongst these primordial elder beings, the deities, the gods, whatever you want to call them, and that the younger generation rebelled against the original creator deity. So that is a fundamental aspect of virtually every ancient tradition, this rebellion in heaven, if you will.
Heaven being the universe.
Yes, heaven's just being the universe, right?
Right.
Although actually in the traditions it says there are multiple heavens, which we would then correspond to like extra dimensions. So right. So I'm not sure. I believe in this rebellion, and I believe it not, because I'm taking some leap of faith, but because ancient traditions around the world recall this conflict amongst these elder beings. Now, what requires a leap of faith is, whose side do I join? And do I really believe in this benevolent? Is there any benevolence here? Do I believe that there's a benevolent creator above all these quarreling elder beings? So I personally believe that the creator left his children, if we use that word children lightly, but his creator lesser beings in charge of his creation, and they violated their lawful position. And here we thus are in the crossfire of a cosmic dynastic conflict between primordial creator and rebellious false wannabe beings who we have mated with and have been programmed to worship as false gods.
Yeah, sure. Now Hollywood produces some amazing stuff. I'm just going to say there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with a movie like Don't Look Up, right? Or The Godfather, or 2001: A Space Odyssey, or E.T. the Extraterrestrial. These are, I can go on and on and on. Any Wes Anderson movie is golden, right? Okay, that's just me. But there's another powerful force with Hollywood that is happening today that is presenting a lot of physics and a lot of science and a lot of considerations to things that just a few decades ago were you and I talking crazy talk, but now it's presented out there in very strong forms. And I'll just bring up one overarching thing. Look at the Marvel universe. Think about that, right? At each film makes $1 billion, right? Just wrap your mind around that for a second. And they're cranking them out with interdimensional, extra dimensional, time travel, hardcore physics, multiverse, metaverse, parallel worlds, vortexes, wormholes, gods as well. These are very, very, very powerful films that are widely seen. Is science being taught now through Hollywood, and then Kronos is part? You know what I mean? That's all part of the mythology. Is just right there. Loki, right? It's crazy.
Well, that's a really great example. Look at how Hollywood has programmed millions of these little girls to worship Loki. Now they think they're worshiping a fictional character. They think they're worshiping this dude. I forget that guy who plays him. He's a terrible actor. So these kids become obsessed with Loki, right? They got a poster of Loki on their wall. They define themselves as worshipers of Loki on their social media. They're wearing Loki shirts. Loki, 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 right? The kid thinks this is a fictional subculture thing that they're into, that they stumbled onto organically, and they just like it. It's just who they are. That was intravenously programmed into their brain, and they are now worshiping a demon who is real and is malignant and evil. And they don't realize it, but a seed has been planted there that will affect their trajectory and the concepts and ideas that they accept as religious. I don't think people.
But who's worse? Who's worse, Loki or Taylor Swift?
They're both satanic idols as far as I'm concerned.
Now, that's a really good point. Now, and here's the fascinating thing with, and this goes with Thor too as well, by the way, and that part of the storytelling. The Loki series on Marvel. I'm going to say it. Don't get mad. I loved it. And the reason why I did was I wasn't taken away out into the romance side of this or idolatry or any of that. I dug the time travel aspect of it. The forwards and backwards and the good versus evil. I enjoy and the production value. I really enjoyed it, but you're right on a very important point. Most people aren't going to look up Loki.
Right.
The only version of Loki that they know is the Marvel version of Loki.
Exactly.
And that's the point that you're making. But the series, I got to tell you, Mark, series is pretty damn good. He's not that bad of an actor. What's his name? Hold on a minute.
I don't know. I wasn't fond of it. But no, listen, as someone who's devoted their life to narratology, I love cinema passionately and deeply. I know I am a fountain of cinematic quotes and knowledge. I absolutely adore cinema. And for a long time, I wanted to work with Hollywood, and I got my shot. I just really wasn't into joining a satanic cult. And so that pretty much was the end of that. And there's a real story there, maybe some other time. But the point is, I love cinema. And I've watched some of those Marvel movies, and there were some really cool aspects. I loved the one, I don't remember which one it was, but they went to the forge and they depicted the forge as like a dying star, and they had this visor that they would open to like melt the special metal, and it was very, very cool. So of course I too am fascinated and mesmerized by the world creating magic of Hollywood. But I've got to warn you and your audience that despite the harmless seeming nature of it, they are very tricky and insidious with slipping you seemingly harmless things that are actually festering that negativity that you said you like to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
They are slipping it into your drink. And I'm just telling you that as a friend who loves you, like they're slipping stuff in your drink. Enjoy it all you want. No judgment. I've spent a lot of my life enjoying films. So I will never, ever be like, oh, you guys shouldn't like this movie. But word to the wise, they are slipping you cognitive poison.
Yeah, and what I've always found interesting, because I live in Hollywood, and we were talking about this earlier, and I meant this when I said this earlier to you. This is off the air, everybody. That, hey man, I live here. I hear the stories.
Yeah,
I hear them all.
Yeah.
Now, and so because of that, of living where I live, everybody that works at a restaurant or is out driving a car or is walking a dog in the street, is shopping, and everybody is involved in the film industry. Everybody.
Right.
Whether it's catering or set dressers or costumes or editors or sound stages or works at a film lot, directors, right? Actors, all of that stuff. It is the industry here. But because of that, Mark, here's the interesting thing. Everybody here's a critic.
Yeah.
Everybody here, when we go to a movie theater, it's different than the rest of the country.
Oh, yeah. I've been, yeah.
We watch the credits. We stay till the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're looking at our friends' names and we're seeing things, and we have a dedication to that. But so we are looking at cinematography and the editing, the screenplay, storyline. We're seeing if things track right. We comment on all of those things. We get into production, whether it's TV or film, into it in a 3D sense. So I'm always looking for the secret stuff.
Oh yeah,
I am, and I catch it. I do. I catch it, and I often wonder who made that decision. You know, is there somebody really in a boardroom somewhere going, okay?
yeah, wow.
And I think the short answer to that is probably, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, we could devote a whole another show to this, but people don't realize the intimate relationship between the Masonic orders, Hollywood, and military intelligence. So, a few quick examples. You know, MTV, Masonic television, filmed in an old Masonic temple. A lot of movie studios actually are old Masonic temples.
Jimmy Kimmel is in a Masonic temple.
That's right.
Did you know that?
Almost all.
Did you know that?
Yes, I did. Well, I just assume now it's in a Masonic temple.
No, like, I worked there, Mark.
Yeah.
In the 80s, just before Kimmel, right? Okay. Yeah. So it's across the street from Mann's Chinese Theater. And it was a nightclub. Okay. And there was like, I was the sound guy there. And there was like 4 rooms with live bands, and I kind of oversaw everything, and I mixed in one room and everything. So anyway, but I remember I was walking through there one night. Some stuff you just can't make up, right?
Yeah,
there. We've got, there's probably 5,000 people in there, and it was a good time. I'm walking through and I'm looking at the walls, at the hieroglyphs and the columns and the carvings, right? And I turned to my boss, who owned the sound company. I go, dude, what's, he goes, this is the Los Angeles Masonic Lodge.
Yeah.
Like, what? Come on, man. I'm going to show you some stuff. Then he takes me downstairs. Anyway, that building, and I saw some crazy. Now, I'm not going, nutso here, but it's beautifully made. The stonework is incredible. The Egyptian theme and motif, and it's big. This is not a small, this is big. That building is where Kimmel is today.
That's
there's
right.
all kinds of rumors about that building and tunnels going underneath LA.
Yeah.
And
now you're Hollywood itself, the substance Hollywood, what you may already know this, but the substance Hollywood was what Druid priests used to cast spells. So
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, well, so, the idea of Hollywood being, the land of dreams, right?
Which it is.
Right.
It's that for sure.
And
it's everything that comes. You know what, though? Mark, I want you to finish your thought. But that's the other part, is that people are attracted to this town because they're chasing a dream.
Right.
And people take advantage of that.
Yeah.
They're very vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look, when you are the distributors of dreams, you got power over a whole lot of people, even the ones who don't come, begging at your door for a slice of the dream pie. And I have to get biblical again. There's a foretelling in the Revelation prophecy that there will come a day when the so-called the harlot of Babylon will tempt all the nations of the world to drink from this proverbial cup of demons. So they're not talking about a literal woman of the night and a literal cup. They're drinking from the cup of demons is a reference to what we were just talking about, the satanic worship, the demonic worship. And then you just noted the wild success of these Marvel films. So I would suggest to you that Hollywood, right, the purveyors of Druidic witchcraft dreams, are inducing all the nations of the world to drink from this cultural malignant cup. And do you know what America's #1 export is? Because we import everything, but what do we export? What's our #1 thing?
Besides McDonald's?
Yeah, well, the one thing that we export around the whole world, and everybody cannot get enough of it, is our culture. The media.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
The music, the movies, the TV shows, the sports. Everybody around the world's drinking from that cup. And if it's laced with this malignant crypto satanic mind control, we are in big trouble, my friend, because everybody is in this short attention span, fast food, gimme more information. So you've got herd mentality being led by a real spooky group of shepherds.
So, but good is always going to prevail. And,
True.
don't we need, I hate to say it like this, but the universe works with black and white, positive and negative, hot and cold, right? Good versus evil. That's just the way it is, right? But you want good to be just a little more dominant.
Yeah, well, I would, normally it's not like I'm on a quest to root out everything, malignant. But the problem is, I think, is where we are as a civilization. So we're approaching a precipice here. And so that's the issue.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, this isn't 1850. You know, we are hurtling towards, well, a complete redefining of our civilization. And
Well,
this is not.
Isn't that our next stage of evolution?
No,
right? We've got to.
No,
you don't think?
No,
you don't think?
that's how. No,
You don't think
I
consciousness and enlightenment and being good isn't our next stage?
I wish that were the case, and I do believe that good will win out. But good will win out as a result of divine intervention and not the organic goodness of mankind, which has been corrupted.
Right.
And so what I think is really important, and if there's a takeaway, like, Mark, what do I do with this? Because I get that from people. They're like, Mark, what is this? What am I supposed to do with this? Well, I would detach your heart, especially your emotional connection from the culture, and definitely to some extent distance yourself physically from all the poisoned food and all the misleading information. The culture, look, it's a process. We grew up with the music and the films, and we're not just gonna, abandon it all like it was some terrible thing. But we can't let these people lead our hearts and minds going forward into this new world, because this new world is their world, and it's not going to be a wholesome and good and just place, because that's just not what they're about. They've been planning this a long time, this so-called new world order.
Well, I hope I went through, and then we'll say goodnight, by the way, but a fantastic conversation, Mark. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's really great.
Yeah, just amazing conversation. Years ago, I tell the story a lot, but I'll share it with you. I hosted a conference, and I was gone for about 5 days. And so when I do those kinds of things, big crowds, all of that stuff, I'm not paying attention to the news or myself. I'm too busy. I'm working. And I'm not watching TV or doing any of that. But I come back home after being gone for about 5 days, and I walk through I dropped my bags. I'm walking through the house. I picked up the remote control, turned on the TV. And on the TV was a news channel. I'm not going to say who it was. It doesn't matter. They're all the same. But on the screen, now I come back 5 days, man. I am good. No media, right? I'm good. Ate well, hanging out with friends. I was in a really good mood. And on the screen was a video of ISIS with flamethrowers and people in cages, right? Okay, that's on the screen. And I see that over my shoulder, and my body changed. I got physically ill. I'm not saying I'm saying that I got zinged, and I haven't watched the news since.
Good for you.
Have not. It's been 10 years. I felt it. And so I'm hoping that, and certainly listening to you tonight, that I think that the world is going to grow up the same way that I did. And for me, it was instant. I was like, well, I'm done with that. I'm done. I'm not saying I'm ignorant to the news, but I pick and choose what what news I need. I don't let it get burned into my eyeballs like I did that day. And hopefully I think the rest of the world is going to mature in the same way. And that's my hope.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hope actually all the time that I'm wrong about some things. I really do. I really do, but I can't shake the research that I've done and
you
what
shouldn't.
it all
You
and what
shouldn't.
it all seems to indicate. And I just well, it's like I was saying before, when you really get to understand Nephilim, a lot of dark corners of history start to illuminate. And that is why they call themselves that, because they know the secret history of the world and that everyone else is in the dark. And that's why I think people can't read the writing on the wall. Because
the writing's not there to read.
Right.
Think about that. Mark,
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Fantastic show. I look forward to our next conversation. And where can everybody reach out to you, my friend?
Okay, so and I really enjoyed it too. Thanks for your time. Thanks for having me. So I have an Instagram profile, My Apocalyptic Chronicles. It's my _apocalyptic_ chronicles. And then also there's a blog by that same name. Jimmy has linked it there, guys. myapocalypticchronicles.com. And then I also have a Patreon, Mark Carpenter on Patreon. Me and my people could use your support. It takes a lot of research and time to make content and videos. Oh, and we'll have some books coming out in the fall. The Nephilim Exist and The Satanic Labyrinth. Those books will be coming out soon in the fall.
Thank you so much, Mark. Now, go continue to roll that rock uphill. I'll talk to you, man. Thank you so much, my friend. Perfect night.
See ya.
Excellent show. Mark A. Carpenter, and it's markacarpenter.com too as well. And the links for that are below. And really quick, who do I have on the show tomorrow night? MJ Benias is with us. He is back. And we are going to be talking about UFO subculture tomorrow night here on Fade to Black. Until then, I want everybody to have a great, safe, and fun rest of your evening. Go Beckley Teppy. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go Beckley Teppy.